Hello, welcome to the Polymer Clay Pencil Bracelet tutorial. That is my wrist and that is the pencil we are making in this video. It is a comfortable, easy to put on and off, stretchy bracelet. The original version of this was made using an extruder to get a hexagon shape, and I wanted to make a version for people who don't have an extruder. This is to get the illusion of a hexagon shape. That is what we are making today. The colors we're using, this part is really not scientific. That light brown there is what I mixed the first time I made this project. I am using Primo Translucent. That darker brown is Souffle Latte. I also have Souffle Igloo. I'm mixing those together for a nice light brown. Just gathering the pieces because there is no special formula. You just mix to make a light brown. I also, if you see on the left there, ended up adding in Primo 18 karat gold. I like shimmer wherever I can figure out to put it. I'm not sure if that part was necessary, but I did it. So here are all of the colors getting smooshed together and about to go through the pasta machine. Pasta machines are very helpful. I did not include instructions for how to make this without a pasta machine, but if someone needs tips on getting sheets, that's probably another video I'll end up making. There is a baby on my lap during this, so you'll see little hands. Okay, graphite pearl. That's the color we're putting in the middle. It is a Primo color. I'm rolling a thin log to about the size that I think would work in the middle of what is essentially a pencil cane, even though we're not using it like a typical cane, which would be to take slices. We're using the whole body of it. So now we are wrapping that graphite center with the wood color, just like you would have in a regular pencil. It's the graphite in the middle of all the wood. I like to do this with layers rather than just rolling the whole thing, because I like to avoid that overlap. I think it can distort it. I don't know if it's important, but it's the way I do it. So I'm going layer by layer and getting air bubbles out as best I can, butting up those seams and smoothing them out, clearing the edges, wrapping. I probably could have done fewer wraps had I left the light brown color thicker in my initial stages, but I was just working with what I had there. Now I think I'm assessing how much I have. I would like a little bit more wood. Still too heavy on the graphite. We're going to do one more wrap around and fit this to what I have trimmed up there. You'll notice I do this thing with registration marks. I'll roll it forward and then roll it back, and you can see on the clay where the end touched, so I'll trim on that. Just it's a shadow of the line, but I will trim there, and that's how I know how much to cut off. So we have our what is called a bullseye cane. It's got graphite in the middle, wood on the outside, and it is ready to get covered in yellow. This part I prepared ahead of time. It's white and yellow layered. I basically took a thin sheet of yellow and a thin sheet of white, and I ran them through the pasta machine on a thin setting, both together, to get one on top, one on bottom. The color I have there is Canary from Souffle. I did use Igloo. It's probably not necessary to do this part. I like the effect of having that little extra detail of the white on the inside. I realize now that my bullseye plug is a little bit wider than the sheet of yellow I have already prepared, so I'm shortening that plug up right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of squishing it down. You can manipulate polymer clay a lot to make it do what you need to do, so that is what's happening here. Cleaning up that edge, and I'm going to wrap it with the white side in around the wood color And this is the same as when I was wrapping the wood. Got a little bit of air to squeeze out there. I am working one-handed. That baby is still on my lap. So here's a little bit more. It takes a little more finesse on this last one because it's so thin, and I wanted to make sure that the seam was closed well and cleanly. So I did take extra time to smooth that out and line things up. It's not on camera very well because I thought there was a second camera running when I did this initially. I missed a little bit. All right, there we have it, wrapped up, and now we're going to reduce it a bit so that we can turn it into our pencil bracelet. I use the method where I squeeze. I like to squeeze things initially to reduce them. It's what I do. So we're just rolling this so it becomes longer and thinner. Part of it is going to go into that green extruder that you see there next to me on the table. I am going to cut it in half here. This pencil cane was being used for 2 different projects, so I'm saving one to the side. That's all I was doing there. The first one I made is actually now visible on the right. That's the one that I extruded to make the hexagon shape. And you can see I'm referring to it because the hexagon has lines, 6 lines essentially. So what this black and white sheet of clay is going to be is the lines. It's going to mimic what's happening in the hexagon pencil. It's going to be more of an optical illusion. I'm folding it so that it's sandwiched. We want the black inside, and I am running it back through the pasta machine to be skinnier and flatter. There it is. I'm going to cut straight, just straight thin slices from the edge of this to put along the sides of this cylinder. And then we will roll them together with the pencil, and they'll kind of become one. We're just laying these flat and trying to get them as straight as possible. It's not going to be perfectly straight. When you press on, they get little bumps along the way, but that's something that I personally don't worry about. They are a little jagged. But if you see there, we have the white sandwiched around the black, and that is what we're going to continue around the outside of this whole cane. So when you look at the hexagon, the lines are across from each other. So we're going to add one more. Here I am realizing that I still have to cut those lines. So we're going to cut about 5 more slices. And they're pretty finicky because they are so thin and long. So treat them delicately. Try to keep them from sticking to each other as you slice, and with where you lay them, you'll thank yourself later. So there's 3, 4. Probably could have trimmed this part out, huh? 5. And now we're going to look at our cane, and a hexagon has those first lines are going to be directly across from each other. So I'm trying to lay this in a pretty straight fashion. It gets a little funky, but there we go. There's a straight enough line. And then on opposite sides, we need 4 more of these lines. They're going to be cut at about 1/3 of the way around these other halves. I'm going to use my fingernail to just eyeball it. And then I'm going to go directly across from those and eyeball another 1/3 of the way around. And we're going to continue to place our lines. I actually really like this version of the pencil. I made the one with the Hexagon extruded initially, and this seemed like a really good idea because I know I don't own an extruder. The one I have is borrowed from my guild. And it's a fun tool, but a lot of people don't have it. So this is a way to get that pencil hexagon effect without having to invest in a new tool. These are pretty finicky lines. Once you get them pretty close to being lined up, it's good to get them stuck. So, and also in hindsight, I could have done this with maybe not black in the middle, maybe a darker brown. It is pretty stark with those black lines, but I really like the effect personally. It's a little more poppy, graphic. Is that a good thing? I like that. All right, we have all of our pencil lines placed. Some of them are a little wonky, but when we reduce this more, it's going to stretch out. It's not going to be such a big deal that they didn't totally lay flat. So we're just gently compressing them, making sure they're firmly stuck in all places. And I need to reduce this again. So we will continue to roll this longer and skinnier on our surface here. It will suddenly become a pencil. We just keep rolling, 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 rolling. I like the twist and stretch method also. Just keep fanning those fingers. Yeah. This is probably, it's fun. You can make fast work of it. It was pretty soft clay. You roll it until you feel like it's a good size for your pencil. And I feel like I'm getting there. The ends are thicker than the middle. I am going to be cutting some of it off, so that is going to be fine. Just keep going as long as you need it to be. It happens pretty fast. We're going to clean up the ends. There's a lot of pencil there. We're going to fit it around our wrist. I like it where it overlaps a bit, so I'm going to mark. I think I used my fingernail to mark where I wanted to cut. Now I'm going to trim again, and that is our pencil bracelet initially. Now we have to add the eraser. I didn't film this part with the extruder list, but here it is when I did it with the extruded bracelet. I have this flat sheet of green. I cut it to size and shape to go around the circumference of the pencil, and then I just etched some skinny lines just to give a little more texture and make it look officially like the end of a pencil. I also need to make the eraser. I used raspberry and mandarin souffle colored clay. However, this part really, you can mix any pink that you want that you think looks like an eraser. Maybe you don't have pink erasers on your pencils. Maybe you want a different color. This part, completely up to you. I like the bright colors of the raspberry and mandarin together. So here we are, mixing, mixing, mixing. Mixing, mixing, mixing. I thought I'd have more to say. I think that's why I left some of this part so long. How you doing today? Pretty good? That's good. Me too. Roll it into a ball and then bring it down to your work surface and roll it into a cylinder. Give it some flat sides. That lines up with the size of our pencil. That's all we need. That same circumference. I'm going to slice this in half, and then you have 2 pencil erasers from that one ball of pink. I love Bacon Bond, so I do use it. I put a little touch to bond it to the pencil. Here we are. And then wrap that around. Clay sticks to itself, so you don't have to glue this part. You just firmly press it, and it will be just fine. This is the basic steps to making your pencil cane. The next part is that we coil it up back into shape where we want it so that we can bake it. The reason I coiled these, this one I made really long and did an extra wrap on. You could do that with your extruderless version too. I coil them up instead of putting them around a bracelet form or a soda can or a bottle because I wanted to maintain that oval shape so that it hugs your wrist better. That is what I did here. Probably don't need to watch so much of this. You can fidget with it all you want. That is how I rolled it up. The extruderless one has fewer overlaps. This is how I baked them. I put parchment paper between the layers so that they didn't stick to each other. It's baked on a tile, 275 degrees at a minimum. Don't go under that. I did 45 minutes. You want it well baked. That's what helps keep the stretch. And here's the finished product again. I did not show how I sharpened it on camera. I just used a razor, an X-Acto knife, blade, and shaved away at it. I did try to put it into a pencil sharpener. It worked well enough, but it did leave a few sketchy marks, so I think the blade's the way to go. Here's some of the different ones I've made all together. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please click like, subscribe, comment, tell me if you found it helpful. Tell me if you plan on making your own pencil bracelet. Mostly just thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe and click the bell so you can get notifications and keep following along. You have a good day. Thanks. Bye.